Hey folks, I'm Gadget Guy here, and there have been a number of different comparison videos. Samsung Galaxy S5 versus HTC One M8 fight. But perhaps one of the most crucial, one of the most important aspects in discussing these two phones and comparing these two devices, something that we have been a little negligent even on this YouTube channel discussing, and I don't know that I could stress the importance of this topic, is which company makes the better flip case. Okay, I'm absolutely joking. This is probably not going to be a major purchasing decision decider between these two phones. If you're shopping these phones, these cases become nice afterthoughts. These are the icings that you buy for the delicious cake that you wish to protect. But I did think it would be fun to look at the differing design aspects of what each company went through for their official flip cover case. Of course, I did a whole video on the HTC One DotView case. It's a plastic shell which protects the aluminum back and just sort of snaps the phone right into place there, and then flips closed, and you have a nice little protective experience, which is very modern, has all these little dots on it. Now, Samsung is continuing their approach of offering up flip cover cases which replace the back plate on the phone proper. And so we peel off this back here, and we attach it to this case here. And thankfully, before I snap this into place, thankfully, Samsung is including the gasket, which runs along the side of the inside of the case, which helps seal the battery compartment and the SIM card tray against any potential water damage. So the flip cover case for Samsung maintains the water resistance of the traditional back cover, and I'm just going to snap that into place there. Now, you would think that in replacing the back on the Galaxy S5, that the Samsung flip cover case would be slimmer than the HTC One, which just adds to the back cover with its plate. But Samsung has opted for a nice sort of faux leather squishy plastic feel on their flip cover case, even on the back, which adds just a little, you can see there's just that little extra bit of ring, there's that little bit of extra bulk on this case. So even compared to the HTC One case, they're actually about the same thickness. It adds about the same amount of girth to your otherwise super slim phones. And as you would expect, opening both cases will turn the screen on both phones. And it's always a nice little touch because I find that these types of flip or screen cover cases tend to get in the way of the one-handed experience ever so slightly. Now, in terms of protecting the screen and the design, I actually prefer HTC's implementation of putting a hinge. There's like a little spring-loaded flip hinge on their case, which just helps guarantee that as soon as you're done using the DotView case, it's going to stay shut. It's going to remain closed. Whereas on the Galaxy case, when you release it and you're waiting for that screen cover to flop back in place, it kind of flops around a little bit. And you need to spend some time sort of breaking in the Samsung case. It's really, really stiff. And it's eventually at a point now where if I push it closed, it'll stay closed. But it doesn't do that out of the box, and you need to spend a little time breaking it in. Now, both of these cases allow for small pieces of information and notifications and alerts to be sent to the case covers themselves. Obviously, HTC's implementation is the ability to broadcast these little dots, and it's a very sort of minimal but modern look, so you can get things like the time, the weather, and then for HTC apps like the HTC email app, you'll also see notifications there. Samsung's approach, because they use that AMOLED screen, they can do just sort of a square cutout on the screen itself. And so you can open it and then close it, and you're going to see a sort of simplified version of what's on Android lock screen so that you can get into very small pieces of information and also get into things like controlling the camera. I think what's kind of funny is as you shoot pictures from this interface on the camera, they will come out square as well. So this is perfect for you people who are already thinking in terms of squares for Instagram. You can send stuff directly there. And then going back, you can also customize what other information that you want to see from this S-View window. And you also get just a quick access to your notification tray for time, your battery life, and then other notifications and alerts. So for some of those expanded features, for example, on HTC phones, you can voice dial by swiping on the screen. And now it's going to do a voice dial action from there. But what I think is funny is that both of these phones still require touch to use some of those features through the cases. And putting a case on top of your screen is going to reduce some of the sensitivity of your screen, obviously. And so a gesture like a swipe isn't always going to work exactly when you want it to, because you have to nail that feel and that gesture to get it to work. So I mean, so I've done it a couple times now, and now it's deciding to actually not work, which is helpful for this video to illustrate the point that I'm trying to talk about here. And ditto the same thing here. The Galaxy S5 doesn't have the same kind of tap to wake features, because they expect that if you want to use the screen, it's going to be on. And then also, depending on how you're holding the phone, hitting the power button is also going to toggle this this minimized view through the screen window. But then also, you still have to do things like swipe if you want to get to the camera. You can see if you don't transfer all the way out to that circle there, then it's not going to activate the camera. And there have been a number of times where through this case, I've wanted to set up a shot and I don't nail that swipe all the way. The camera doesn't launch, and I actually just find myself opening the case to get to this camera swipe, which seems to work a little bit more consistently, or at least a little bit faster. For camera stuff, where I'll give the Samsung case just a little bit of an edge over the HTC is when you flip the window all the way back around, it just barely clears the image sensor here. Now, obviously, if you're trying to shoot really high quality photos and stuff, you don't want to block your camera sensor. But in the event that you do flip this case all the way around and then think you want to take a shot of something, you at least can take a shot. It might be a little blurry, or there might be some screen glare or something like that from this plastic window. But it's a far cry from using the HTC phone where, like I've had the case flipped around the side, I've been doing things, and I think, oh yeah, here, let me just take a quick picture of that real quick, and it's dots. Oh, right, I've got my case flipped around, and then I've got to awkwardly kind of hold it out to the side and then take the picture that way. I mean, it's silly. That is a very minor criticism of the HTC DotView case, but this has actually happened to me a couple times, and I think it's in part because I start to get used to things like, if this case is flipped all the way around, my view of the camera isn't obstructed and it doesn't look weird. Here, the very first time I did this, it was one of those moments where oh man, something's broken with my camera. No, it's the DotView case. I just had it flipped all the way around. Now that's better. Yeah, that's fixed. In terms of general aesthetics, I'm actually siding ever so slightly with the DotView case. I think this does a really good job of retaining HTC's design language for the actual phone, and then giving us something very simple and modern to clothe our phone in, but it's still an HTC One. From the rounded corners, which clip in really, really nicely on the sides. The HTC branding is exactly in the same place where it would be on the phone. Nothing, obviously, it's well designed, so nothing's blocked. The top of this case is presenting the IR blaster in a really nice way. And then adding this little sort of quick notification view where we can see alerts and the time. Very simple, very clean, very modern, and I like the look of this a lot. That's not to say I don't like the Galaxy S5 window case, but the way that the corners are designed to attach the phone into this plastic clip, and the way that this sort of flips closed, sort of walks us away from the sleek lines of what we normally have with the Galaxy S5. Because the Galaxy S5 is a very slim phone. It's got these nice rounded corners and this sort of fake metal trim accent around the outside. And all of that is lost the second you throw this cover on there. Now it becomes a green rectangle, which doesn't really look like a Galaxy. I mean, if you're familiar with the Note and if you're familiar with other Galaxy window cases, then you kind of know what this is. But this sort of removes that design language, and it presents us with a very different look and a very different feel. Now, that might not be a bad thing for those of you folks who don't like the dimpled back on the Galaxy S5. If you're not a fan of this, then maybe the flip case is the way to go, as it will sort of present a very different look and feel for the back of the device, but it's still a nice, grippy, soft touch, especially in that you can get them in these nice jewel tone colors. And I am sort of partial to this aqua green that Samsung sent out for me to review this phone with. I am really enjoying that color, but I think in terms of what a company's design language looks like, I think HTC has done a better job of translating that design language into a protective case for their phone. However, that conversation actually flips when we start talking about durability and cleanliness. The Galaxy S5 is continuing a conversation that started with the Rugby and into the Galaxy S4 Active and keeping ports covered and a gasket sealing the battery so that we have a water-resistant experience. This phone is completely submergible for a short period of time, and it'll most likely survive being completely submerged in water, where obviously the HTC One is not working with any of that kind of ruggedness or durability. And I also have to say that that conversation continues into the actual covers themselves. This DotView case can get grimy and get stuff stuck in it very, very easily. And so, you know, here it's just like little bits of lint and sort of like pet hair. That's one of my dog hairs right in there. And this rubbery feel right here and the rubbery feel on these little dots gets gunk sort of stuck in it really, really easily. Now, while the screen window on the Galaxy S5 window case can get stuff sort of smudgy and it can get like stuff stuck on it, it's a little easier to clean. You know, you just kind of take a finger and you just kind of wipe it all off, or you take your shirt and kind of rub it on your shirt. Rubbing the DotView case on my shirt usually ends up with more stuff on the case than the amount of stuff I removed, which makes me worried that maybe I'm just that filthy that even my clean shirts have stuff on them. And maybe I need to have a conversation with my dog about shedding so much fur all over the place. But yes, thank you, HTC. Now you're making up for the number of times that you don't work in demonstrations by working when I don't need you to. That's awesome. But no, in terms of both of these phones providing a pretty experience, I side with the HTC. In terms of these phones keeping a cleaner and a more durable experience, I'm siding with the Galaxy. One other important thing to consider between these two cases is the removal factor. I mentioned in my DotView case, you know, if you're using a flip window or a flip cover case like this, it can be sometimes kind of tricky to mount it in something like, say, a hands-free kit, like if you've got a dashboard or a windshield mount for your phone. And so to pop the HTC One, if you pop the HTC One out, it's pretty simple. Unfortunately for the Galaxy S5, if your phone has difficulties getting into some kind of car cradle or custom mount, it means having to completely detach it from the case to get the window case out, which means you're going to want to keep the back plate with you if you use your car mounted like that a lot. Or you have to look at investing in a different type of windshield mount or dashboard mount solution. And it is also just one of those design bummers of a case like this, that the more you keep peeling the phone in and out of a case like this, you know, you're going to keep wearing out these little nubs that help attach the case to the phone itself. And so while I'm sure this case is designed to do that a number of times, you'll just want to be aware that, you know, if you're looking at a solution like this, it's because you really do like using this type of window cover. And so you'll want to leave it on there fairly permanently, semi-permanently, so that you're not constantly doing that dance of peeling the plate off and sticking it in the case and pulling it out of the case and putting the back plate back on. Perhaps the last thing that we would want to discuss between these two cases is simply the bang for buck ratio, in that the DotView case on Amazon right now is a $50 case, whereas the window case for the Galaxy S5 is a $35 case. And especially, like I said, this isn't going to be the decision that helps you decide between the Galaxy S5 or the HTC One as phones, but when you are already looking at shopping one of these phones, it's a nice thing to sort of factor into if you like putting a cover case or a window case on your device. All things being equal, you know, a $50 case is kind of an expensive case. And when we step up on the Galaxy S5, you can move up to a $70 charging case. So it's the exact same fit, finish, and layout as this window case, but then it builds a coil into the back, which allows for wireless charging. And that's $20 more than the DotView case, but that's an actual feature, that's an actual benefit that I can get behind, because especially with my Nokia Lumias, I've become a really big fan of QI, or the Qi charging platform, where you just sort of set your phone down on a pad and it just starts wirelessly charging the battery up. You don't even have to mess with opening up this port cover on that case when your phone can wirelessly charge. So that's another one of those aspects that's just going to come down to that personal preference, what phone you're already deciding on, whether you're going to buy an accessory like a flip cover case. So folks, this has been my rambling comparison, the ultimate fight between the Galaxy S5 window case and the HTC One DotView case. I'm curious from you folks out there, if you're using the Galaxy S5 or the HTC One, did you spring for the actual manufacturer and branded cases? Are you using some other kind of bumper or protective case, or maybe you're looking at like an OtterBox because you want something really rugged? Drop me some comments below, because I'm really curious to know what you folks are using out there to protect your gadgets and add a little customization and a little style to your specific smartphone of choice. I'm always curious to know what you guys are up to. As always, folks, thanks so much for watching my videos, sharing my videos, subscribing to my channel, dropping me those comments and hitting that thumbs up button. It's all greatly appreciated. And I've been having a blast sharing this tech goodness with you all, and I will catch you all on the next review.